Hey, what's up everybody? We're here to go ahead and change the display on this Motorola Moto E. You see this definitely shattered. A few tools that we're going to use to do this is a Torx 5 screwdriver. We have a couple guitar picks here to help us pull the screen off. You can also use a few playing cards, which are actually my choice in most situations. A little bit thinner to get it pred off. If you need something a little bit thicker, you can use an iSesamo tool, and then we'll use a nylon spudger to pry some of the ribbon cables away. So the first thing that you want to do is go ahead and power the device off. Oops, airplane mode on accident. Try that again. Give it just a few seconds to power all the way down. We're going to go ahead and remove the back. The back on this one's fairly loose. And you can use a guitar pick if you need to get this pried open. Just put it in underneath and slide it around. Just don't be extremely forceful with it. You don't want to crack it. I'm going to go ahead and pop right off. The next step is to go ahead and remove all of the Torx screws that line this phone. So it'll take us a few seconds to get all of the screws out. There's a couple that are indented up by the camera. They're a little bit deeper in the pockets. You want to make sure you get all of those out. Almost done. Just a few more to go. So these ones up in here, they're a little bit hidden. They're in a little bit deeper inset. So you want to make sure you get both of the two out, the ones that are above the camera. All of them want to come out except for this one. It's a little stuck in the plastic housing here. Make sure all of your SIM cards, SD cards are removed, and then go ahead and start to pull the back off. Let's double check and make sure this one's fully unscrewed. It doesn't want to. Oh, there we go. Popped it out for us. Use our nylon spudger to kind of get underneath and start to pull the back off. You'll feel a little bit of resistance holding this together. Just use your pry tool and work your way down. Just checking for adhesive under the battery. Now there is a speaker cable that's underneath this, so you don't want to pull it all the way off. Just go ahead and fold it open, and then use your nylon spudger just to pull the speaker cable straight up out of its connector. You can go ahead and set that aside with the battery still attached into the back plate. This is your 3.5mm headphone jack as well, and your battery just right here. Now looking at the logic board that's still in the phone, we have a few screws that need to be removed. You can see we have our volume button and our power buttons here. They're the three screws that need to be removed, so we'll go ahead and use our Torx wrench to remove those as well. Exact same size as the rest of the phone. Now that we have those three screws removed, we're just going to check and see if there's anything that might be holding this logic board down here. We have our ribbon cable and our digitizer cable. We're going to pull that back. Sometimes in these Motorola phones, they have some little clips that hold the logic board in. This does not look like it has it in this one. So we're just going to remove the ribbon cables. There's little pop-up connectors, flipping up the black portion straight up, and then pulling the ribbon cable out. That'll now free the logic board for us to go ahead and remove. Just putting our nylon spudger underneath it, kind of just wiggling it back and forth a little bit. If you work down the right-hand side of the phone, opposite of the volume and the power button, it'll be a little bit easier. Those, that side down there, those kind of stick the board in and don't want to really let it out that much. So just work our way down. Just be careful of those, and then go ahead and pry it out. See that we have our volume button and our power button still adhered to the phone. They're stuck under some grommets, so you can just leave them in there. We have our headphone speaker, our earpiece speaker, I mean, it's right here. So if you want to pry that out or replace it, you can do that as well. The next step in this process is to go ahead and remove the screen. We'll be using a heat gun to do so. I use a hot air soldering iron. It's from a rework station. You can use any heat gun. I've heard a lot of people using a hairdryer. I still haven't ever tried one, but I've heard a lot of things in the comment section say that it works properly for you. You just need to make sure you get it warm enough to melt the adhesive that's holding this display on. It's usually held down with something like a 3M double-sided adhesive all the way around the bezel portion of the phone. Have it nice and warm at this point. See if we can't get the screen removal started. We'll start with the playing card and try to dip it in. It's a little bit tricky on some of the cracked phones where it's a little bit shattered here. We're trying to get a starting point on this point here where there's a little bit of a crack. If you can remove a small shard from the phone, that might make it easier to get started, give you a little bit more opening to get the card into. I'm going to take our ISS Moto tool. There's a little shard of glass here I'm going to remove, and that'll give us kind of our starting point. There we go. We'll just work our way around the phone. It's getting really tough down here at the bottom. It looks like the display adhesive is kind of re-solidified. Try something a little bit heavier duty with this guitar pick. It's going to have to heat it up a little bit more. Try that again and see if we can't make some more progress. See, it's a lot easier to move around. So above the speaker grill here, and it's right below the screen is where we're going to try to cut it to. Leave that card in to give us some separation. We'll go ahead and work our way up the right hand side of the phone here. It's a little bit tricky up here at the top as well, so we'll go ahead and apply more heat. Now we can get the card further in underneath the display now, all the way underneath the back of the LCD. You can see it popping through here. We're not cutting through the display at all. Makes it a little bit easier to start the removal. You have a little bit more to work with. You want to be careful of the ribbon cables if you're looking to try to save this display at all. We're going to go ahead and heat up this side of the phone now as well. Get it nice and warm, give it some time to work with it. Now you don't want to get it extremely hot. We don't want to melt the bezel of the phone. Just enough to make the adhesive warm up. So slide it down. Now that we've warmed it up enough, we can probably just start to pry it away at this point. Kind of fold it open like a book. Just make sure the ribbon cables are pulled through the hole. We'll go ahead and tip open, and the display will be removed. Now the next step is to go ahead and to clean this up and prepare it for the new adhesive we'll be using. We'll be using some 3M double-sided tape. So what we need to do is basically remove all of the old adhesive off it. There's a little fly there. We're just going to use a spudger to pull this up. Now this tape is all in one piece. It's kind of like a grommet almost. So if you start one side, you can kind of get underneath it a little bit. You can go ahead and try to pull it away, and it might come off all in one piece and make it nice and easy and clean for you. Here we go. Just take your time. Don't pull extremely hard. Normally it'll come off. It usually breaks around the smaller portions. Now you also want to be careful right here. I'm noticing that I'm pulling away a little bit of the earpiece speaker grill. It's like a little foam mesh piece that's next to it. So you want to be careful when you're pulling the adhesive away from that you don't technically rip that all the way off. Normally it's kind of a buffer to make it a little bit easier to talk into in the mic so you don't get as much wind force or heavy breathing into it. So try not to pull that off. It's not the end of the world if you do, but just something to be careful of. So you can see right here, I can see it, so I'm going to try to pull it back away from the adhesive here. It looks like the same piece, but it's actually black and adhered on there. Now we have the glue removed. The tape, we're going to go ahead and try to pull this back and lay it back out where it should be. There we go. Now we're going to get it flattened back out. Try to get it prepared for its new adhesive. That's the screen removal of this Motorola Moto E. If you found the video helpful, hit that like button. If you want to watch the reassembly video, I'll throw it down in the description. If you want to watch future videos, go ahead and subscribe. As always, I appreciate you watching, and I hope to catch you on the next one.